Live.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste and a very good morning to one and all. This is Meera Balaganesan from Disha Bharat. It is my privilege to welcome our esteemed speakers, delegates, and all the participants to the National Webinar Series Event 3 of VIKASANA NEP 2020. Disha Bharat, an organization that has traversed 16 years on the path of value education by conducting workshops for school and college students on the theme of Know Yourself, Know Your Country, and Know Your Culture. In this journey, we have conducted hundreds of programs for the teaching, non-teaching faculties, and parents as well. Transforming youths to transforming nation is the vision of Disha Bharat. One of the visions of the NEP 2020 policy is to instill among the learners a deep-rooted pride in being an Indian and our culture, not only in thought, but also in spirit, intellect, and deeds, which is very much in alignment with the vision and core values of Disha Bharat. NEP 2020 undoubtedly is a major change, which has a huge potential to create a paradigm shift in the way we perceive education and the way we deal with education in the future. The famous philosopher and writer Robin Sharma quotes, "Change is hardest in the beginning, messiest in the middle, and best at the end." All our efforts in Disha Bharat, including this webinar series, are modest attempts from our side in making the beginning easier, managing the mess of the middle, so that in the end, we all can enjoy the best possible education. VIKASANA NEP 2020 is not a one-off event. It is a webinar series with a sequence of topics moving from macro to micro level. We have completed 2 events, and the last one on December 23rd, where we had a Vice Chancellor of JNU University, Dr. Jagdish Kumar, and IAMB Professor Dr. Mahadevan, who both of them addressed the audience and enlightened us. As a new and a forward-looking policy, NEP 2020 stresses, emphasizes a lot on the quality of higher education that could enable the students' personal accomplishment and enlightenment, their constructive public engagement, and also encourage them to remain a productive contributor to the society. The teachers and the faculty are the heart of the learning process, says NEP 2020, and they are the pillars of the education system. However, the role of the teachers and the connect with them with the students have always been debatable. Hence, the topic for today, the role of a teacher in developing the 21st century learners. So today we have 2 eminent speakers with us today, and it is my honor to once again welcome them. Dr. Gurraj Karjagi sir, who is going to speak on the subtopic Enablers of Personal Accomplishment and Enlightenment, and Dr. Rupa Vasudevan on the subtopic of Facilitators of Constructive Public Engagement. After great deliberation and keeping in mind the value of our participants' time, we have decided also to issue e-certificate to all our delegates present here. A link to the feedback form will be floated on the Zoom chat window at the end of the program. We request all the participants to submit the completed feedback form by 9 a.m. tomorrow. The issue of e-certificate will be based on the attendance on Zoom and the submission of the completed form by 9 a.m. tomorrow. So without further delay, let us start the program. And at this point, I would like to invite Dr. Sharda ma'am to introduce our first speaker for today. Dr. Sharda ma'am, the principal of MES Institute of Management, an accomplished academician, has been a great patron of Disha Bharat and supporter of all our endeavors. So our association with the college itself runs long and deep. So over to you, Sharda ma'am.
Thank you, Meera. So is my voice audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Namaste, India. A very good morning, one and all present here. Education is the most powerful weapon with which we can to change the world, said Nelson Mandela. Education system in India is witnessing an era of transformation. Transforming and creating a dynamic, flexible education system is fundamental for the progress of any nation. National Education Policy 2020 by the Indian government aims to achieve this. In this regard, I am very proud to say that Disha Bharat has been pioneer in organizing various events which are aimed at empowering the various stakeholders in the field of education. Today, Disha Bharat is presenting third edition of VIKASANA, a vision to action, developing the 21st century learners, a role of a teacher. National Education Policy 2020 outlines the vision of India's new education system, which emphasizes on the development of creative potential of each individual. It is based on the principle that education must develop not only cognitive capacity, but also socio, ethical, and emotional capacities and dispositions. As Meera said, uh, the teacher role is more important while deliberating with the students. So they are the enabler of personal accomplishment and enlightenment for ensuring the future well-being of students. Disha Bharat has invited erudite scholar who walks the talk and is very knowledgeable, a great teacher and teacher's teacher. Only can give a talk on role of a teacher in changing the education system in India. Today's speaker is all this and more. I deem it my privilege to introduce Dr. Gurraj Karjagi sir, Chairman, Academic of Creative Teaching, Bengaluru, to this August gathering. A brief introduction about Dr. Gurraj Karjagi. A doctoral degree holder in chemistry, has published over 22 research papers in international journal. He is a life fellow of the Electrochemical Society of India and has served on the board of management of a few medical universities. Dr. Karjagi also served as a member of State Resource Group for the implementation of total quality management in the colleges of Karnataka. Dr. Karjagi was the principal VVS First Grade College for Women, Bengaluru for 16 years. He was the director of the VVS Academic and Administrative College, founder principal and academic director of the Jain International Residential School, and the founder director of International Academy for Creative Teaching. He has served as a member of the syndicate of a few universities and as a member of the Karnataka Knowledge Commission. He is the trustee of Loka Shikshana Trust, a leading publishing house that brings out a daily, weekly, and monthly publication. He is a member of the governing body of the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Shimla. Sir is a well-known columnist and has completed 1,800 columns. His 15 books entitled Karunadu Babelake are immensely popular and have been several editions. Dr. Karjagi has written many articles on Sufi philosophy and has published a book on Sufi. As of now, he has authored 22 books. He has edited many books, including Shikshana Shilpa, a huge collection of articles on education brought out by the JSS Maha Vidyapita, Mysuru. He has published over 100 articles on all aspects of education in national and international journals. He is also known for his daily spiritual discourses on a television channel, Sri Shankara, with over 500 programs on Dasa Sahitya and Vachana Sahitya. Through the Academy for Creative Teaching, of which he is the chairman, Dr. Karjagi is instrumental in building over 85 schools of very high quality all over the world. He is generally considered as an institutional builder. His area of interest include creativity, creative and critical problem solving skills, communication skills, motivation, work ethics, and human values. He has designed a complete curriculum in creativity, which is being used in different universities. He has traveled and lectured extensively both in East and the West, and has conducted more than 2,000 training programs for educational and corporate organization. Such a great personality is being with us today. Once again, welcome you, sir. And one more thing I would like to quote in this program. Sir has been associated with Disha for many years, and he's a mentor and guide in setting the curriculum and teaching methodology for Disha. Welcome you once again, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I extend my warm welcome to Srimati Rekha Ramachandra Madam, Founder, Secretary Disha Bharat, for giving me an opportunity to introduce such a great scholar and that means stalwart Dr. Guraj Karjagi. So thank you so much, ma'am. I would like to extend my warm welcome to all the Disha team members and all the participants. This program definitely benefit for us, and stay with us for the wonderful program. Thank you so much.
I offer my pranams at the outset to everyone who has come to attend this webinar. I am grateful to Rekha ma'am for giving this chance to me. I'm also grateful to Sharda ma'am for introducing me so nicely. I'm such a small man. When I read the biodata, it looks impressive to me, but I'm not that. I'm a simple person, a teacher who has been a teacher for the last 48 years and would like to remain till the last breath of my life. And then this is a wonderful topic given to me today. I should also tell you that as a teacher, I was waiting for something like this NEP for a long time. We have fought in the academic councils and senates and syndicates about change in the structure of the college education. I'm happy to a very large extent the NEP has satisfied that. In fact, the topic given to me is how a teacher is responsible for bringing up the improvement in the quality of a teacher and also the quality of the students. How does he bring about that thing? I'd like to share my file with you. I request you to co-host me so that I can do that. Meera ma'am, can you co-host me so that I can put my screen?
Yes, sir. 1 minute.
Yeah, I'm happy. I hope you're able to see the screen.
Yes, sir.
This is a wonderful topic. Role of teachers as enablers of personal accomplishment and enlightenment. What is the role of a teacher? And in fact, it's also mentioned that we are developing the 21st century learner. The title given to me is a part of the sentence in the NEP itself. I just go through quickly. So the time that I have available to me is not big. It's about 45 to 50 minutes, I thought. Look at it, India's higher education system now. I always call this as a forward-looking vision. It says it must enable an individual to study one or more specialized subjects at a deeper level. It's not enough if somebody knows the subject very well. Should also develop the character. Ethical and constitutional values, I emphasize that more. Constitutional values are very crucial. When our youngsters grow up into responsible citizen, they must know there are certain values attached with their constitution that they should know. Intellectual curiosity, scientific temper, creativity, spirit of service, and most important, that's why I put in a different color, 21st century capabilities across a range of disciplines. This is what the NEP statement says. And it also says a quality higher education must enable personal accomplishment and enlightenment, constructive public engagement, and productive contribution to society. This is the vision of the policy. And the title given to me is this sentence. personal accomplishment and enlightenment of children, and how does a teacher play an important role in doing that? I have certain things to say. We use a word that you must develop in children 21st century capabilities. What are those capabilities of the 21st century? The thing which is hitting us very strongly today in 21st century is critical thinking and problem solving skills. Very, very important today. In fact, when I teach creativity in different parts of the world, I always say there is a difference between creative thinking and critical thinking. What is this critical thinking all about? How do you solve problems? Today, when we have a problem, there are 2-3 things we can do. One is get nervous about it, flounder in doing it. We don't know how to plan it. So therefore, this art of problem solving, and before that, we require critical thinking. And we also require communication skills, both written and oral. And today, 21st century, the option for us is to work together. Can somebody mute it? Something is unmuted. Yeah, thank you. In fact, today, 21st century, nobody can say, I did it. It always I replaced by we. Therefore, we all do together, collaborate together, work as a team to carry out things. How do you develop these capabilities of working together? And we can't get away from technology today. How do you use information technology to make our ideas more clearer? In fact, in today's world, to reach out to large number, when you want to scale up something, you require IT. Without that, you can't reach out large masses. And how do you develop leadership skills? Every individual is a born leader. How do you develop those leadership styles? And secondly, what do you mean by professionalism? I should make a clarification in 30 seconds. Unfortunately, today, professionalism is mistaken for being impersonal. Being impersonal is not professional. Professional means you should do what you are expected to do. Now, nobody should remind you for doing it. It doesn't mean that you get away from the people. How do you know what is work ethics? How do you work without stepping on somebody's foot? And last important is, how do you manage your careers? Managing careers is going to be a tough job because careers are going to change drastically, quite frequently, because the old concept of one joining the job in the same field and retiring at the same field will not be possible now. Like in the open world, people can change tracks and go from one career to another career, and they should be able to do it seamlessly. That's all the skills that we require in the 21st century. And then what can teacher do in this role? Teachers have a lot to do in improving the motivational level of the children. I put a picture on the right-hand side. The teacher has to do many roles today, multiple roles. She's a technologist, she is an entertainer, she is a communicator, she is an informer, she is one shapes people, she is a role model, all rolled into one. It's a very challenging task. When a student in a degree class joins with a specific degree of motivation, how do we improve it? What does matter to the child in improving his or her motivation level? It all depends on teacher's behavior and teaching style. I always say the amount of information that you give in the class is useful. But more than the information that you give, how you conduct yourself before the student is paramount. In fact, the kind of structure of the course, the nature of the assignment that we give, and most important, the informal interactions with students all have tremendous impact on student motivation. I share a small example here. I was in the US teaching in some university. I finished my class and came out. I saw a lady sitting there, an Indian lady, and face appears familiar, but I did not put a name on that. She stood up and said in chaste Kannada, Namaskara, sir. When somebody says Namaskara in America, I feel so happy. I said, Namaskara, ma. She touched my feet and said, remember me, sir, I was your student 35 years ago. I said, good. What are you doing here? She explained and said, sir, I'm working as the faculty here. He is one of the topmost universities in the world today. You think of the top 5, it is always there. And she said, I'm faculty in the Department of Chemistry, sir. I said, my God, chemistry, that's my subject. You know, I was in a hurry to go elsewhere, but the lady did not leave me. She pulled me by my hand and took me to the Department of Chemistry. It is that laboratory or department where I did not work or did not do research. Totally new university for me. She goes there and there were about 40, 50 people sitting there, faculty members of different nationalities. And this lady tells them, I was telling you about my teacher because of whom I'm here. He is my teacher. I felt like crying. Then she went on asking, sir, remember the day I was a student in the college in the first year degree? You were coming down the staircase. You asked me why? Looking dull? I told you, sir, I'm not able to understand second law of thermodynamics. Come. You took me to your chamber and explained me the second law of thermodynamics, common examples, day-to-day examples. I loved chemistry, sir. I could take it further. I went to my native place and did my master's. Then I got scholarship in Purdue University to do my PhD. After that, I got married and my husband is in San Francisco. Therefore, I'm working here as the faculty in chemistry, sir. I was so happy. And she asked me very innocently, you remember that day, sir? I said, I don't remember. Because every time I come down the staircase, I find somebody standing there. I talk to them in some way or the other. I told her, I'm grateful to you, child. I'm really grateful to you because if the 10 minutes I spent with you can bring you to this university of top class, I can spend my life for a student. Why I'm mentioning this is informal discussion that you have with your students, don't make it too informal. Please imagine that this word that you speak at that time could be a turning point in the life of a student. It has happened to countless examples. So therefore, the interaction that a teacher has with the student, because the environment is informal. In fact, informal environment is more conducive for absorbing, not just learning. So therefore, that is the best time the teacher uses. And that makes a tremendous impact on the student motivation. What is to be done in that? Give free feedback very quickly. When the students are with us, we can give the feedback. And most important is positive feedback. And develop the feeling in the child that they are doing well. They're doing well. They're doing well. They may not be progressing as fast as we expect them to progress, but they are making a progress. That's good enough. Ensure the student's success by asking questions which are not too difficult or not easy. I always give this example, my friends. I'm very fond of this example. When the child is in the cradle, a little child is in the cradle, they put something glittering on top of this, something shining, catchy. The child stretches its hands and tries to pluck it. Where is it tied? The sheet with the glittering things, where is it tied? Not tied to the roof. If it's tied to the roof, child will not see it. If it's tied too close, the child will pluck out something and put in the mouth. Not possible, should not do. So therefore, they put it at a place where the child feels it is possible to pluck it, but not able to reach it. I always say that is the kind of task we should give it to our students. If you give impossible task, they say, oh my God, it is tough, I can't do it. If it is too simple, they say it is boring. So give the tasks which are little away from the ability of the child, but child feels that if I put little more effort, I can reach it. Help students to find personal meaning and value in what you do. Most important. There's a personal meaning. The child put the student saying that this is what you can take it forward. This is what will happen to you if you take the course. He must find or she must find a personal meaning for studying a particular program. And most important is create an environment, a positive environment which is open and conducive for learning. I have seen this happening. Of course, most of us are excellent people, but some teachers are unnecessarily rigid in the classroom. Do not allow children to turn around and talk also. I always say classroom need not look like a funeral speech. It has got to be exciting. The classroom is a celebration, but it not be chaotic. The classroom should be flexible enough for learning to happen, but not too flexible to be chaotic. I can create an environment of that kind. And most important is, when you are talking to the students, we did not look down and say, you learn, I am teaching. No, at the collegiate level, it's gone. We are learning together. We are learning together. And value them. They're important learners in the class. They are most valued members in the learning community. If I give them the feeling that they have something role to play, they'll feel happy about it. Make the classroom real. Create learning activities. In fact, I've been interacting with some teachers in different parts of the world. I've seen some of them exceptional. They wouldn't go to a class without a case study or an activity. Earlier, we thought activities only for schools. No. When the best teacher in the university uses models and charts, give activities for learning, take learning activities so that intrinsic motivation is developed. Provide choices for the student. Children can interact with you. If there's only one-way monologue is only possible in some departments where boss says learn it and people learn it. Classroom is not that draconian monologue status. The dialogue should be on. There should be autonomy for learning. Child should ask questions, more question answers. Choices are there for the student to answer. Balance the challenge. Level of difficulty. Take it from grade 1 to grade 2, level 2, level 3, level 4. If I suddenly take a quantum level, the student may find it difficult. We should take them notch by notch. Today, the buzzword in academic activity all over the world is learning at different pace. All children learn differentiated instruction, as we call it. There are students with different learning skills, different learning abilities. Can we reach out to all of them? And in some way or the other, professors have to manage that differentiated instruction. I think they must have a course on differentiated instruction. Differentiated instruction is a beautiful method by which you can reach out to majority of the students in the class. That's what differentiation is all about. And most important is seek role models. Can we be role models for them in some way? Or can I give them some role models elsewhere? Today is an era of disappearing role models, but to discover some role models. In fact, 2-3 years ago, I was traveling in various villages of Karnataka, different corners of Karnataka, talking about Dr. Kalam. Somebody asked me, why are you talking about Kalam? I said, what kind of model we should give for students now, college students? If I tell values of truth, non-violence, I should go back to Gandhi and go back to Harishchandra. Today, students say, don't tell me old stories. Tell me today. Look around. Look in the television and the newspaper, you see, you don't find role models. I found Kalam was an exceptional role model who lived amidst us. Though he was the president of the country, he had not lost the smell of the earth, fragrance of earth. Very, very practical, down-to-earth man. He can mix with any crowd and still remain independent and absolutely special. This is a man who lived with us. Therefore, we have to give role models to children. This is what? Either you become a role model in some way or show them some role models which make them learning is relevant. I got some role models here. First, I take science, that's my subject. Dr. S. Chandrasekhar. I'm not talking of his Nobel laureate research. No, I'm talking Dr. Chandrasekhar as a teacher. Dr. Chandrasekhar was a professor in Chicago. Do you know interesting thing? Every weekend, he would drive 150 miles in icy weather, biting cold. He would drive himself 150 miles one way to take a class for a class of students, and the number of students in the class was 2. And for the sake of only 2 students, Dr. Chandrasekhar would travel 150 kilometers one way and teach the class and come back. And his heart was full with joy when both his students got Nobel Prize before him. And he said, my whole class got Nobel Prize. I can tell you his joy of a teacher that his students succeeded much beyond his ability, his own achievements. We call in Sanskrit, Shishya Dichet Parajayam. A teacher would be happy when your students outdo you, do better than you. Chandrasekhar was one such magnificent teacher. He enjoyed teaching. At what stakes? Driving all in that icy weather, only for 2 students? Many people would have said, "Ayo, forget it, only for 2 students, who goes?" but both the students got Nobel Prize. That's the joy of giving. A teacher must demonstrate that. In higher education, particularly, my friends, some way I had to ward off the masks that we are wearing, not this mask for corona, the mask that we wear and pose what we are not. We should drop it and talk to children, talk to our students, very straight, heart to heart. The children will like it. Perhaps you become a role model for them. Another role model that I had the privilege of seeing, meeting this man, one of the greatest teachers and scientists the world has ever seen, Dr. Linus Pauling. Dr. Linus Pauling is a twice Nobel laureate, one for chemistry, other for peace. Outstanding teacher, outstanding teacher. In fact, in 1971, he came to India, and I was a student presenting a paper on electrophoresis. The young fellow sitting in the last row of the Vijnan Bhavan. Then Linus Pauling was introduced by Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. He was the organizing secretary of the program. Vikram Sarabhai took Linus Pauling to some of the best schools and colleges in and around Delhi and made a mistake of asking him in the open house, Dr. Pauling, you saw some of the best schools and colleges in Delhi and Chandigarh. What do you feel about them? You should not have asked. The reason is that Linus Pauling was known for his blunt talk. He called his president, Mr. Nixon, on the national television. He said, Mr. Nixon, you are a fool. You are bombarding innocents in Vietnam, and was responsible for stopping the war on Vietnam. That's why I got the Nobel Peace Prize. The man who did not care for his president, will he care for Vikram Sarabhai? He said, yes, Vikram, you asked, therefore you're asking for it. Then he said, I went to your schools. Please don't blame me for my observation. I have some justification for doing that. He said, you have got first grade buildings, second grade laboratories, I'm sorry, third grade teachers. And immediately everybody had rush of blood. He said, don't get panic. I'll tell you why. My assessment is different. He said, not all of them, at least the ones I met. He said, I went to your schools, you got fascinating buildings, beautiful buildings. My assessment tools are different. I went to the library, picked up the best book in the library, excellent books. I went to the last page, the issue page, and asked the librarian, how many times the teachers have taken this book? She said, not many. Then so many teachers came and met me. I asked them only one question, only one question. My friends, I want you to remember, if somebody asked that question to me, what will be my answer? I said only one question. I asked all of them, can you mention the names of 3 books in your subject that you read last year? Can you mention the name of 3 books that you read in your subject last year? He said 99% people could not give the 3 names. That means very clear they had not read any book. That is sad. And then I went to the physics lab. There is a digital voltmeter. I was so delighted. I asked the lab in charge, how many times the children use this digital voltmeter? She told me, sir, no, sir, we don't give it to students. They break it. We only show them. Then he says, a tragedy. It's better to use a coconut shell as a voltmeter rather than digital voltmeter not used. Then he said, if only the conditions are reversed, it is good for the country. You require the first grade teachers, second grade laboratory, third grade buildings. Okay. That is marvelous. That was Linus Pauling in 1971. He was an ideal teacher who was put straight. He was so straightforward to his president also. In 1962, when John Kennedy was the president, he was invited for a dinner, for a party in the White House. Look at this man. Before the dinner, he brought a large number of people outside White House protesting the nuclear testing. Protesting nuclear testing outside, which was against the policy of John Kennedy. He protested against and then came back and had dinner and said, don't feel bad, President. This is my personal view. You should not do the nuclear testing. This was the kind of a man, a scientific genius and a straight talker. He became a role model in social activism. I tell you, many of his students got Nobel Prize and also became top-class social activists. Why I'm mentioning the two is, at a higher education level, first teachers should get accomplished in order to improve the accomplishment of students. I remember when you go and meet a top-class teacher, You shudder in your mind. Oh my goodness, how do I talk to him or her? Oh, she's so great. She's wonderful. Amazing. Once you know that the teacher has accomplished so much, there is a sense of awe and respect in you, and you try to pick up something from there. So therefore, teacher has to improve. Linus Pauling was an outstanding role model for his countless students. I remember one incident is mentioned about Pauling. He walked into the lab. There were two boys. He went and straight, looked into their eyes and asked, who will get the next Nobel Prize in chemistry? The boys were nervous. They said, sir, if you ask us who got last year, we can tell you. But how can I tell you who will get next year? He thumped on the chest and said, why not you? Why not you? You got the best lab. Can't you get Nobel Prize? It was shocking. These boys have come for doing their PhD, and this man is offering them a Nobel Prize. That is the level at which a teacher can motivate and push him beyond the frontiers of their imagination also. That is something magnificent. These are outstanding leaders. And this is beyond explanation. Marie Curie. She is a personification of perseverance and hard work. Amazing. Most of us, unfortunately, recognize only her as a great scientist. But today I want to share with you, my friends, as an outstanding teacher with a tremendous sense of commitment. All of you know, her husband, Pierre Curie, was an outstanding scientist. He shared Nobel Prize with her. Marie Curie, Pierre Curie, and Henry Becquerel, all three got Nobel Prize together. You know what happened? Very freak accident, absolutely freak accident. He was an absent-minded man, thinking all the while about something, probably research. He was crossing the road and a horse carriage came and hit him. The horse carriage was carrying military things there, heavy things. It hit him. He was hurt and he died. When the news of Pierre's death came to Marie Curie, she took it so poignantly. People could not even believe that Marie Curie can take it like that. She did not show tears, and all rituals were done. On the fifth day, everything was done. She went up to the university, Sorbonne University, where Pierre Curie was teaching a session, teaching physics to the master degree students. She went and asked the Vice Chancellor, sir, I am aware that my husband could not complete the curriculum for this year because of this untimely death. And I know there is a problem there for the children. If you permit me, I will complete the curriculum, whatever he has not done. They were aghast. The lady who lost her husband 5 days ago comes back and says, there is a commitment made by my husband to teach this program, and he could not complete because of this untimely death. I will do it. And where would the student get a chance of getting a twice Nobel laureate to come and do that? She was already one Nobel laureate. She got another one later. Amazing. She went and did the portion. This is a commitment. I tell you, many of her students, including Irene Curie, her daughter, who got Nobel Prize later on, along with Joliet, she was telling, one quality I remember in my mother is that commitment. If she said, I will do it, she will do it at any cost. That's what she demonstrated. I mean, my students in my college would also watch that. If they watch my commitment, they would get at least a bit of it, and their commitment level should go up. If you want them to accomplish higher in life, I should pass on that commitment. Sir C.V. Raman, we always talk about him as a great scientist again, but he was an outstanding motivational leader and guide. Outstanding motivational leader and guide. His ability to communicate with people was fantastic. Dr. Nagloti Mutt was one of the doyens of medical sciences and also in education. Told me an incident of him. Raman was building his Raman Research Laboratory in Makery Circle in Bangalore. One day, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai and Homi Bhabha, the two stalwarts, can imagine, one pioneering nuclear science, another pioneering space science, they were together with him. Suddenly, the old man Raman got up and went out. They waited for half an hour, 40 minutes. After good 45 minutes, this man came back. Vikram Sarabhai asked him, sir, where did you go? Where did you go? Leaving us here. Then Raman said, did you not hear the children giggling? Laughter of children? We didn't hear. You don't hear. I hear it. I heard the noise. Children must have come to see the lab. I went there to talk to them so that I can find a good scientist in them. so I can find a good scientist in them. Vikram Sarabhi asked, are we not good enough? He told him, you are okay, good, but not as good as I want them to be. I want somebody better. Look at the amount of passion that he had in investing in the young people, building their science potential. He was an amazing teacher, pragmatic, very practical. One day he was driving through Kabban Park, summer season. It rains and stops. As his car was going there, suddenly he stopped the car. He found thousands of small insects hovering around the light. We call the fireflies, which fly around the light. He stopped his car, went on the center of the road and started picking something. Another car was coming behind. A professor of the Indian Institute of Science was there in the car, but he was his Raman student. He saw Raman sitting in the center of the road and picking up something. He stopped his car. He wanted to help him. Sir, what happened? Raman shouted, don't come here, come that side, come on the footpath. The professor went there. What did he see? He saw Raman picking up the wings of dead insects in his handkerchief. He said, maybe Nobel Prize, but senility is senility. But he collected enough. He said, you also collect something. And that professor also collected something and gave it to him. When Raman thought it was enough, he put them in the coat pocket and said, go on. The professor said, I will go, but why are you collecting these wings of dead insects? Raman's answer was fantastic. Raman said, tomorrow I am giving a lecture to the school boys in Corporation School on diffraction of light. How can you get a grating in the school? Grating is very expensive. So what I'll do is I give one wing to every child, ask him to see light through that, and then explain diffraction of light. It mesmerizes me, my friends. It mesmerizes me. A Nobel laureate making so much effort for one off class to Corporation School boys. If that is the kind of preparation a Nobel laureate can make it, I think we should do better. The more preparation we do, much better will be our performance, and that pushes up the performance of our students also. And he was an extremely confident man, you should know. 5 years before, when the Royal Society gave him the membership, he said, this is not big for me. I'm waiting for the Nobel Prize. It will happen in 5 years. 1924, he told, in 5 years, I get it. And July 1930, the Nobel Prize was to be announced. But by then, there were no flights. He had to go by ship only. Look at the confidence of him. He had already booked 2 tickets for him and his wife to fly to Oslo to get the Nobel Prize. He booked the ship ticket already, without even being the Nobel Prize being announced. Look at the confidence level and the motivation level of this great person. And this is teacher extraordinary, Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, a practical philosopher, an excellent teacher in content, language skills, and touched the heart of every student. And you know very well, he's a magnetic personality, When he finished his term in Maharaja's College, he was going back. The students were depressed that the professor is going. It touched their heart so much. Again, I keep on emphasizing the personal qualities of a teacher have to be extremely high in order to push up the performance of the children. If my performance is not a much higher level, I can't pull them out. I must push myself up. Radhakrishnan was an eternal student, always. And then, when he was decided that he would go, is a very famous, and it becomes a part of the folklore now, that the master degree graduate students of Maharaja's College decorated a horse carriage and made Radhakrishnan sit in that. And the students pulled the cart to the railway station. Another batch of students had gone there, cleaned the compartment, keep it neat, kept the food and water for the professor. And then professor was given a nice farewell, teary farewell. All of them cried. I always keep telling the teachers elsewhere, teacher groups, this is what happened to Professor Radhakrishnan. They all say, yes, sir, students were like that. I told the same incident to students in large groups. They said, yes, sir, teacher was like that. I had to make it so different. Teacher of his quality. He was so good and straightforward. He could even melt the heart of a hardcore dictator. When he went to Moscow as ambassador of India, Stalin was a dictator, a big mush and a stern-looking man. standing there. And you know what Radhakrishnan did? He gave his credentials. At the end of it, I don't think even Stalin's mother would not have done that. He just went up to him and patted his right cheek and said, "You look nice when you smile." Patted on the cheek of a dictator and said, "You look nice when you smile." People thought Radhakrishnan would lose his job or head. Nothing happened. Next day, Stalin spoke to him and said, "You are the only person who spoke to me as a human being." That's most beautiful. That can happen to an extraordinary teacher of that level. Therefore, when I'm mentioning these qualities, some of them could definitely help us to become a better teacher. Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, the man who built Gitanjali with so much of vision. He was so passionate about teaching and wanted the teacher to be transformative rather than informative. He said, main objective of teaching is not giving explanations, but to knock at the doors of the mind. Can we knock the doors of the mind? Is Gitanjali. He was in fact the chancellor of Shantiniketan, which built a beautiful concept, where he said, learning can be fun, learning can be excited, and can be open. He made a statement, a creative teacher makes the class exciting under the shade of a tree, and an uncreative teacher would make the children sleep in the air-conditioned classrooms. So it is the quality of a teacher that makes the teaching exciting or otherwise. Tagore was a role model, outstanding teacher. And here is a master teacher. In fact, I should not become a little too nostalgic about it. In 2001, he had told me that he wanted to die as a teacher. He hammered the table and said, "I want to die teaching." And many people asked him, and your answer to me and to others was that, as a technologist, you always desired to be a teacher, wanted to be remembered as a teacher, and most important is, he wanted to die teaching. This is what it happened. In fact, he told me in 2001, he was a professor in Anna University. When I talked to him, he asked me, "Do you go to temple?" I said, "Yes, sometimes I go." "Why?" he asked me. And I said, "I feel good." "What do you ask God?" he asked me. I said, "Sir, I don't ask God anything." "Why?" He said, "Is God a Tahsildar? I should give an application, give me this, give me this, give me this. If he is God, he should know. He should also know when to give me, when not to give me." He laughed. And then I told him, "Sir, in our culture and in our text, it is said that you should not ask God anything excepting two things." "What are those?" "One is, Bina dainena jivanam anayasa maranam." Give me only two things, God. Don't make me stretch my hand before others helplessly. And second one is, give me a comfortable death. I said, wait a minute. He opened his diary. First one is, don't make me helpless, right? I said, yes. Second one is, give me comfortable death. Okay? I said, yes. He closed his diary, thumped on his table and said, "Look, I want to die teaching." On 25th July, 1915, I was in Raichur taking classes for the University of Agricultural Sciences teachers. I finished my class at 6, reached hotel at 7 o'clock. I'd forgotten to switch on my mobile. I switched it on. I found 18 missed calls from my wife. I knew that she misses me, but not so much. I telephoned to her, asked what happened. She was a little nervous and said, "Did you watch TV? Did you watch TV?" I said, "Why?" "They are showing flashes that Kalam is no more." I said, "My God, I met him just 1.5 months back. Spent 2.5 hours with him. What happened? Accident?" He said, No. He went to some Shillong and he stood up there to give a talk and he collapsed there. That's what they're showing, the flashes." I said, "My God, he got what he wanted." Look at it. The tenacity of the person to teach, though he was a technologist by training and profession. That teaching was outstanding and contagious. I would say his teaching quality was contagious. And his ways of communication were astounding. His communication skills and the way to say it naturally and fluently, especially giving values to people. Why I'm trying to mention this example here is, my friends, you may communicate to your students the content of the text that you are teaching, subject you are teaching, but intertwine values also along with that. Values should be inextricably interwoven along with the text so that it becomes a part of their acceptance. I have a small video. I'm sure how many of you have seen this, I do not know, but it's something fascinating. Watch it video. Sound Varta?
And you instead This is all of you who are assembled.
Here, all of you, remember this incident. 1979, SLV-3 satellite launch vehicle. I was the project director, mission director. My mission is to put the satellite in the orbit. Thousands of people worked nearly 10 years. I reached the Sriharikota, and it's in the launch pad. Countdown was going on. T minus 4 minutes, T minus 5 minutes, T minus 1 minute, T minus 40 seconds. Computer put a hold, don't launch it. Computer says don't launch it. I am the mission director, I have to take decision. Everything is on. Behind me there are 6 experts. They saw data, computer database coming in and screen, and they see the pictures in the screen. They said there's a problem. The problem is there's a leakage in the system, in the control system. But immediately they calculate, no problem. We have got sufficient fuel and oxidation for control system is controls the rocket to the required attitude. And we can go ahead. Now, of course, my expert's view, but I took the decision. Problem is mine. Finally, I took a decision. I bypassed the computer, I launched the system. Okay, I launched the system. Follow went. First stage worked is a 4-stage rocket, and second stage got mad. It went to spin. Instead of putting the satellite in the orbit, it put in the Bay of Bengal. 1979, it was a failure. It was a failure. First time I experienced my failure. How do you manage the failure? Success I can manage. So at that time, a great man, a great leader, Professor Satish Dhawan, he comes to me, I am very tired working nearly for months. He wakes me up, come, let us go for a press conference. Press is meeting there, like this number of people, world press, with photo, this and that, all the gadgets, they are there. I was really frightened. I will be the culprit because I am the project director, mission director. What Satish Dhawan said, Chairman, Indian Space Research Organization, said, dear friends, we have failed today. It's the first time I have to give all the success, all the failure is, I want to support my technologists and scientists and staff so that next year they succeed. So he took the whole blame himself. And then media asked, you have put Bay of Bengal so many crores, you have put it like that, lot of criticism. He received the criticism. He assured them in a year we will succeed with our team. It's a very good team. Next year, here only interesting happened. Next year, July 18th, 1980, when he succeeded, Professor Dhawan said, you go and conduct the press conference. Do you follow what it means? It means when the failure occurred, the leader took it up. When the success came, he gives to his team. That's the first time.
This is the ability of Dr. Kalam as narrating a small incident, but will not escape the value to go out of it. At the end of it, he said, this is the value of leadership. Amazing teacher. And those of you who came in contact with him and learned from him, we're all blessed people. Ultimately, it boils down to the commitment and passion of the teacher, that it brings personal accomplishment of the student. As I mentioned, first of all, the personal accomplishment of a teacher should be far higher. A teacher must slog day after day, burn the midnight oil to improve his own accomplishment levels. If I'm not at a higher level, knowledge cannot flow down. Knowledge, like water, flows from higher level to lower level. Classic examples, I've mentioned about science people. I mentioned about Tagore. I mentioned about outstanding people within Karnataka, outstanding people. We had T.S. Venkannaya, a professor of Kannada, who was a role model for even a person like Kuvempu. He is dedicated his book Ramayana Darshanam to T.S. Venkannaya. Outstanding teacher of that. The personal qualities, head and heart of Venkannaya were so high, everybody looked up to Venkannaya as a role model. Even Kuvempu was a role model for many of his students, whether they Javregoda or many people, J.S. Shivarudrappa, all great people who did work with him, they always hold him very high esteem. Dr. G.P. Rajaratnam, an outstanding teacher. Many countless students still swear in his name and say, if I learn Kannada properly, it is only through Dr. Rajaratnam. Dr. C.N.R. Rao. Even today, at the age of 85 or so, even today, he sits in the lab and works for 6 hours, 7 hours a day. Doesn't waste a minute time. In fact, somebody goes to him and says, we have come here to garland you or honor you. He said, no, forget it. Leave it to me. Don't come to me. I am doing some work. Even today, he spends so much time. He was telling so proudly the other day, every year I must publish at least 100 papers. At least every year. Even at this age, many people have stopped publishing papers at 26, 28, 30. But this 85, we still think of publishing papers. Radham Narasimha, whom we lost very recently, was an outstanding scholar and a great teacher. Taught in Indian Institute of Science. And as a director of NAL, the kind of motivation he brought among scientists there is outstanding. In fact, a number of times I listened to his talks in NAL as the director. Extraordinary. I cherish every moment of his lecture to me. Dr. H. Narasimha, a definition of simplicity and definition of being a teacher. A hardcore physics teacher, loved teaching, loved his students so much. I always say, if you want to motivate your students, 3 things are required. I must love my subject that I'm teaching. If I intensely love it, I pursue it, go at higher levels. Second is I should love my profession. If I'm complaining all the time about my profession, and third and most important, I must be proud of my students and love my students. And last one, I mentioned Dr. C.N. Mangala, Professor C.N. Mangala. I always called her sister. She called me as my brother. Amazing lady. One lady struggling hard to build a college and made it a role model. Outstanding. The kind of hard work she did, the amount of writing she did work so much as the principal was outstanding. Why I'm saying, my friends, is if you want to improve the personal accomplishment of your students and reach at the stage of enlightenment later on, teacher has got a lot to do. Teacher must first be a role model in everything. He must be a role model in learning, a role model in teaching, communications, use of technology, all those things I demonstrate. Please remember one thing in teaching, children do not understand what we say. Children do not understand what we say. They always understand and appreciate what we do. Therefore, what we do becomes paramount. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It is indeed our pride to have you on our platform, and it is always our pleasure to listen to your power-packed speech. Not just power-packed, it is very easy to give quotations and stories about dedication, commitment, and passion. The speciality is you somehow make sure that you bring back those nostalgic and make your speech very emotional. So thank you very much, sir. So at this point, maybe would you happen to have some time for at least one question, sir? One question from... Sure. Thank you, sir. So we had many questions. So I would just like to take up just one question in the interest of time. So Dr. Prakash Sheelwantmat from East Point College of Engineering and Technology has put forward a very good question. He asks, it is observed that there are still many faculty members who are resisting the implementation of NEP 2020. So what will be your message for such faculty members, sir?
I tell you, ma'am, when the Ganga is flowing full speed, there are only 2 options for you. Accept it and enjoy it, because it's for good society. If it is wrong, flood something elsewhere, I would like to build a dam. But it is Ganga flowing for the good of humanity. And as a teacher for last 48 years, I can tell you, I can vouch for it. I have argued on every possible platform in every university, asking for something good. And we're getting that good. When I say there must be some weaknesses still, no report can be perfect. When I get an ice cream pack, I open the ice cream pack, some ice cream will stick to the carton board also. Don't worry about that. Look at the big ice cream. Except what is beautiful in that. I have been struggling hard against this rigid combination that we had, PCM, CBZ, all religiously sacred curriculum that we have fixed up. I argued for it. Why should we study that? Today it is opened up. You don't have boundaries at all. This is what I dreamt long back. Things are happening. I'm so happy about college, especially multiple entry, multiple dropout system, credit bank, which you are dreaming of it, because I have seen that in the US happening. Credit bank is there. All good things are happening. In fact, when there is something good is happening, don't worry about when I get a heap of beautiful papers for my study. Let me not complain about the stapler pin. Stapler pin.
Wonderful, wonderful, sir. Really enjoyed your Ganga example. So on behalf of Disha Bharat, I would really like to thank you, our heartfelt thanks for taking your time from your busy schedule to address our delegates today. So we pray and hope that we have more and more of your sessions in our future programs too, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
So moving on with our schedule, before we start the next part of our session, for all the delegates who joined a little late, once again, the reminder for all the participants that a link for the Zoom link for the feedback form will float in the Zoom chat box at the end of the program. Kindly ensure that you fill it before 9 a.m. tomorrow and submit it and send it to us. So without any further delay, I would invite Dr. Sharda ma'am once again to introduce the second speaker of today. Over to you, Sharda ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Meera. Once again, good afternoon. One and all present here. We want that education by which character is formed, strength of mind has increased, the intellect has expanded, and by which one can stand on one's own feet. The powerful word by Swami Vivekananda. And the motto of Disha Bharat, a non-profit social initiative which endeavors to guide and catalyze young minds to carry forward the rich and glorious legacy of our nation. We have a highly accomplished woman with us today. I am indeed my honor and privilege to introduce Dr. Rupa Vasudevan, Trustee, Disha Bharat, to speak on the topic, developing the 21st century learner's role of a teacher. Welcome you, ma'am. A brief introduction to Dr. Rupa Vasudevan. Madam is currently a co-promoter and chancellor of Bharatiya Engineering, Science and Technology Innovation University, a private greenfield university at Anantapuram, Andhra Pradesh. Madam is also co-founder and global president of World Forum for Education, an independent non-profit organization working globally to advance sustainable development, humanitarian response, and facilitating public good through knowledge sharing and education. Rupa Vasudevan has been appointed one of the top 10 academician executive members of the General Council of Karnataka State Higher Education Council, apex body on education in the state. Madam is the member of Governing Council of Indic Academy, a non-traditional university that provides platform for promotion and conservation of indigenous and Indic art, culture, traditions, and knowledge systems. And advisory president, education for World Women Leading Change, a women leadership forum with over 2 million women. Madam is also actively involved in serving activities for the agricultural community with an NGO, Apna Desh, and trying meaningful ways in which all of us can make a difference to our farmers while focusing on documenting best practices by farm rule areas and the state of Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Under NGO, Bharatiya Samskruti Foundation, receiving art form, promote India studies, promoting culture, traditional values, art and diversity of India. Madam is promoting International Academy of India Studies, which primarily focuses on experiential immersive study model of India culture, heritage, traditional values, architecture, art form, dance forms. Madam is also involved in planning and implementation of ICT initiative in association with Government of Karnataka. Implemented mentoring system enabling young people to be mentored and thus a vision for their careers and help focus them to achieve their life goals. Rupa Vasudevan is well versed in the field of education, entrepreneurship, policy planning and development, advisory for technological innovation, business strategy, women empowerment association, social service planning, enable outreach activities in rural area, raising awareness amongst youth for volunteer activities. Passionate teacher also. Madam is also receiving many awards and recognition. International Gold Star Award for exemplary contribution on bridging gap between Thailand and India, awarded by Labour Minister of Thailand. Mahila Ratna Award for contribution as a woman achiever. Rashtriya Vidya Saraswati Puraskar for contribution in the field of ICT in higher education. Higher Education Leadership Award in 2016 for digital learning. Indie Wood Vanita Ratna Award on November 21st, 2019 at HICC, Hyderabad by the Indie Wood Billionaires Club. Member, Executive Council of Karnataka State Higher Education Council. Member, Jnana Sangama ICT Initiative Group, Government of Karnataka. Heading the Women and Child Initiative, Pan India for NGO, Apna Desh in India. Incepted an NGO, Bharatiya Samskrutik Foundation, BSF, for promotion of Indian heritage, arts and traditions. NAFSA, and Madam has also delivered keynote talks in various national and international seminars and conferences. Now, Madam is delivering a talk on the topic Facilitator of Constructive Public Engagement. Over to you, Madam.
Namaskar to all of you, and thank you very much for this extremely elaborate introduction. I thank the organizers, the very visionary organization, NGO with a great team under the inspirational leadership of Srimati Rekha Ramchandran and Sri Rajesh Padmarji, Disha Bharat, for initiating these important dialogues on national education policy and the roadmap ahead. I've been given a very, very huge responsibility through this topic today on the role of teachers as facilitators for constructive public engagement. As my predecessor spoke, Dr. Guru Rajji, there is no doubt that commitment, there is only one way, the commitment and passion from the teachers that brings personal accomplishment of the students. And as my ideal Swami Vivekananda says, the gist of all worship is to be pure and to do good to others. He who sees Shiva in the poor, in the weak, and in the diseased really worships Shiva. And if he sees Shiva only in the image, then his worship is but preliminary. This idea of service to the poor, this idea of outreach and in community leadership or public engagement or civic engagement that we call it, is akin to worshipping God himself. And this idea is deeply ingrained in our Indian spiritual thinking. If you want to find God, serve man, is what Swami Vivekananda ji said. Now let me set you a context for today's topic, which by far I do not think can be explained by one theory or by a few effective measures, but it has to be more interactive. And I think our topic today will be more profound if we make this experiential by sharing each other's story, because the very topic is so dynamic about public engagement. I think we can learn a lot from each other's stories. So in the end, instead of maybe a question answer session, I would request the Disha Bharat team to make it more interactive by at least two story sharing sessions. I'm sure if there are about 150 people in this, 150 participants in this platform today, and who are interested in understanding the context for public engagement and how we as teachers could become facilitators for public engagement, they do have stories to tell. So I request Disha Bharat to have a nice session in the end of 15 minutes of storytelling. Let's learn from each other. Now, what's the general perception of public engagement? The general perception revolves around outreach practices. We believe that as a teacher, as an engager, as an enabler for the students, the general viewpoint of civic engagement means that I need to outreach. But in real, I think that public engagement is moving beyond outreach practices. It involves activities that broadcast to communities what our governments wish to do and deflect what they do not do. Now, for this, you need to establish a fluid, open-ended dialogue within communities that can lead to better informed policies that effectively communicate the messages, that effectively solve problems, and that effectively deliver the services in new, in more creative and more impactful ways. Now, there is a lot of enthusiasm around institutions and people that I have met, because obviously I am around such visionaries. There is no well-supported formula of how to do it effectively. Now, I come from a university called the Bharatiya Engineering, Science and Technology Innovation University. We believe here that the university is primarily an enabling space. Now, which has to foster multidisciplinary studies that engage around community outreach activities, and the researches that draws upon them, whether it's theoretical, empirical, methodological, that which cuts across disciplinary boundaries. And there is no doubt that it can help institutions. Outreach possibilities, community engagement, and public engagement can help institutions through increasing their accountability and transparency of their research at the institutions. We need, as educational enablers, as teachers, as facilitators, to respond to the social needs of local people and in turn at the national level. Now, for which I think there is something that is very important. You know, in an educational space, faculties and teachers, I mean, by far most of them, are interested in delivering their class, their curricula, and engage with students in academic activities. I don't see that relationship of the leadership of the management with the faculty, and the faculty in turn with the students. We need to build a community of, first of all, trust and mutual understanding as enablers of education within the community of educationists and faculties and teachers and facilitators. We need to provide a space which I've always spoken about and which led me to start World Forum for Education. We need to provide space for discussion and pedagogical imagination. And here I would stress on the importance of not only the disciplinary literacy, but a huge chunk of time for social responsibility. We need to provide a space, an enabling space, and provide perspectives for dealing with, I would say, differing faculty expectations and the differing faculty expectations of student engagement. We need to build strategies and move beyond our existing roadblocks and the challenges that are posed by concepts of what we call civic, what we call citizenship. Now, this fostering enabling space will provide civic engagement experiences for the students and for the enablers in active participation that calls for participation within our democracy, promote a sense of community on campus, beginning with there, and help the interested faculties to enhance their abilities and their intention of service. I think because of these enabling opportunities that as education institutions we could provide to our faculties and to our teachers, and with other benefits and incentives, the faculties will be definitely promoted to elect, design, redesign courses, and we need to give them complete freedom, independence to design, redesign their courses and include public engagement as a central component there. Because unless this is achieved, I do not think that this as a separate activity will be taken up by our enablers or facilitators at educational institutions. We founded something called as World Forum for Education because I personally believe that knowledge giving does not happen in the four walls of an educational institution. It happens everywhere around us, especially in a country like Bharata. We see innovation everywhere. We see knowledge giving everywhere, right from our grandmother to the little child to a tribal woman to a community that lives next door. There is innovation, there is a learning from everywhere. Therefore, we have this institution called as World Forum for Education, which was founded in the basis where we said we have to cut across boundaries of the educational barriers that exist today. We need to give a showcase, a platform for credit to all the knowledge givers who are making a meaningful change to the society. Such enablers have to be brought into mainstream. And it's easier said than done, which I would say with my personal experiences of meeting people from all across the globe, of working with World Forum for Education, which we founded 4 years back, of working with Apnadesh Foundation, which was founded 25 years back. It's easier said than done because ultimately it all comes down to the teachers, to the faculties of institutions because of their massive reach to the youth of our country. And having said that, I would also like to reiterate that the pressure on teachers today is very, very intense. They are working in an environment which is under increased scrutiny, and Corona has triggered this overall public dissatisfaction with online education, with grappling with technology. And it's not only our country, but our country and the institutions in India, but the institutions across the globe that are facing daily challenges with technology, with delivering things online, and varying levels of parental involvement in the curricula, shortage of several facilities and others. So this is putting a huge pressure on the NEP. Now, whilst having these issues, they are still trying to perform their best in terms of engaging the student and learner engagement. Now, coming back to public engagement, there is no one size fits all public engagement tool or a technique that we will be discussing today. I think we need to approach civic engagement, outreach possibilities as a emergent process. We must continually adopt and evolve along with the communities around the institutions that we serve. I think as such, the only way is through replicating, encouraging the best practices around the world, around our nation, around other institutions that we see, for how to manage the ever-changing landscape of public engagement. Now, I will let you know about one of the engagement that I'm associated with, which is to do with Krishi Ayurveda, and which brings together. This is led by a very ambitious woman who's also a guide to me since many years, Vijay Lakshmi Vijay Kumar, who has an institution called Heritage, where they grow organic herbs, vegetables, flowers, fruits, and they have the largest aquaponics. I'm just giving you an example of how our institutions and our universities engaging into a public engagement and trying to enable the farmers around us. So there is an initiative called as the Krishi Ayurveda that we are spearheading. Now, what Krishi Ayurveda is about? It is about bringing together institutions, bringing together progressive farmers, bringing together the industry that is into herbs and medicinal plants, and bring back Ayurveda as mainstream crops. Now, who does the cropping? Who does the agriculture? It's the farmer. And why would a farmer want to change the pattern from fruits, vegetables, and the other food crops to a medicinal crop? Is the challenge that we are planning to bring in and bridge the gap into motivating the farmers and letting them know that there are these medicinal herbs, there are these medicinal plants that are wiped out of the face of earth. And before it's too late, we need to save our Ayurveda, we need to save our herbs, and ensure that there is a profitability in it, and ensure there is productivity in it, and ensure that there is buybacks in it. And that's a very visionary initiative that our university is supporting and here. And this is a bigger initiative, but there are very little initiatives that the faculties of our institution started. Like, for example, during the Corona time, we had over 70 or 80 webinars talking about conservation education. Now, we believe that all individuals, institutions, NGOs, organizations, and governments have to work hand in hand in order to conserve, preserve, and protect our environment before it's too late, protect our indigenous knowledge systems before it's too late. So we developed 3 themes at our university: indigenous knowledge systems, Mother Earth, and culinary. Now, indigenous knowledge systems revolve around our country's ancient wisdom, the fabric, the handloom, the art, the music, the yoga, the well-being, the dance forms, the archaeology. Earth involved our environment, climate change, bringing back the traditional knowledge systems in terms of Krishi Ayurveda, energy, soil, water. And we have culinary, which speaks about food culture. The food culture. I think somebody's microphone is on. I request everyone to kindly mute yourself. Culinary, which speaks about food cultures, understanding heritage cuisines, and the ancestral vessels, the ancestral methodologies that we used to have to fight, the viruses that we have today, the immunity that we build over a period of time through our very own rasam and our beautiful cuisine that we have, their significance. So as a university, we have various teams that we brought into, and there is one particular student who did such
I
phenomenally well.
request all the other participants to kindly mute. Sorry, ma'am. Kindly mute yourself. Thank you very much.
If
Sorry,
the
ma'am.
host
Please
can
continue.
mute, I think there's a mute facility by the
Yes.
host. You can do that. So I think what we need to do, yeah, this is at a larger level, but we have a student, she went around during the Corona time to, with of course the guidance from the teachers here. She went around all the areas. She collected plastic bottles of Pepsi, of Coca-Cola. She cut them into half. She created a mechanism by which in that plastic bottle, you could grow the little herbs like methi seeds, like coriander, like mint, and in your own kitchen. And then she made a recipe out of it, which could help you with your immunity, basically a kashaya. So I think in our own little ways, we could enable, but also document what we have achieved. Because I think where we have failed over a period of time is documentation. So I think as much as we as teachers try and do our in our limited capacity for outreach possibilities with the local communities around us, try to engage them in fruitful social activities, we need to also ensure that we document and we speak about it to others. Because the only way I think public engagement can be successful is through dialogues. And I'm very happy here that Disha Bharat, a truly inspirational organization, has decided and has thought about public engagement, volunteering by individuals, and especially by teachers as a topic today. I think as enablers, we can also try to engage on the different diversity of the skills and needs and engage, students and teachers to, enable them to speak openly about their views, interests, needs, think together with a think tank within the organization to tackle difficult problems and to get the job done, to foster creativity, realize the potential of the people, and realize the potential of group intelligence, and handling dominant voices, ensuring all participants, all the people around are heard, working through conflicts, working through challenges, reorganization of different patterns of communication, encourage authentic communication. I think, in short, using your power as enabler and facilitator constructively. I think translating the idea of civic engagement into pedagogical practices, however, requires more than faculty interest in undertaking these efforts. And I have a very different viewpoint about pedagogy. For starters, uh, every teaching methodology is not a pedagogy, and every teacher is not a pedagogue. Pedagogy is in itself a scholarship. I think it's a study of learning, and the many ways that the study is fueled. You know, in classrooms, we learn in workshops, we learn through centers of excellence, we learn through individuals, and wherever learning is poised to occur. I think the pedagogy has to be with core timelines. It has to be with certain mindfulness, with a certain understanding, and with an openness for improvisation. Pedagogy, I think, concerns itself with very momentary vital exchange that takes place just like how it is happening now, and in order for the learning to happen. And I think every faculty, every teacher has to enable pedagogy in its true sense in the classrooms. There's this momentary vital exchange. Well, the pedagogy as it is defined as the a place where your philosophy and the practice meet. It's very simple to say, but it is surprisingly difficult because it is very investigative and, as I said, emergent by nature itself. So I think successful public engagement activities. It depends on interested faculties to provide structured, authentic, rigorous experience that leverages community assets, that leverages local communities, that leverages social activities that happens around you, while also seeking to address the ills from the community. It cannot be only one-sided. And I think for educational enablers and universities such as us, thoughtful reorganization and rethinking of course delivery is a must. I think to fully engage our students in methods that develop their knowledge, that develop their skills and values for a democratic participation. And we teachers are learners too. And I think traditionally we are the ones with knowledge and expertise in one field. And knowing that in hand, we need to now start building facilitators. Now, who are facilitators? Facilitators build on the knowledge base of a group. And it could be a group of students, it could be a group of enablers from outside or within the walls of the campus. And instructions are based, methodology of instruction is based to serve a purpose and to allow the students and the faculties for a chance to grow. Now, we all have facilitators around us, don't we? We have experts around us, the civil society practitioners around us who have enormous practical knowledge. You don't need to really have every single knowledge of every single thing happening around you. You know, you need to only bring in the civil society practitioners who have practical knowledge of a wide variety of issues. Like at our university, we have enablers for agriculture, for farming, for AI, for forestry, for microplanning, for water harvesting techniques, for, as I said, Vriksha Ayurveda, and for a lot of other management activities. Now, typically, Disha Bharat is one such organization where you can greatly benefit and have profound views sharing between both of them, both of your institution and them, and you don't need to really reinvent yourself in topics that probably are not your expertise. So I think many teachers, many faculties, many institutions that are involved in the work of reshaping the culture of institutions have imbibed this methodology and who have transformed the conditions of teaching and learning by building a new collaborative cultures with such practitioners, with such enablers. And, such institutions I have seen have very specific traits. They are strongly committed to their students, their vision. They inspire their colleagues, their communities, with constant curiosity. And they struggle to improve on their pedagogical skills in the true sense of pedagogy. And such enablers, such institutions experiment and challenge their comfort zones by taking risks. And they discover leadership every single day, through humility and through collaboration, through collaborations with such enablers, with such practitioners. And, finally, for a teacher or for a faculty, an enabler, for leadership in the true sense of leadership to become a reality and an inherent quality, they must be given real unconditional support for their work, including altering the institutional culture to accommodate their ideas and their pedagogies into the system. Unless this happens, there is very limited scope in which they function, and there is very limited engagement opportunities or engagement that you can expect from them. Now, I was having a very good chat with my co-founder of the Best Innovation University, who's also a very revered name in Karnataka, Shri Bharatlal Meena ji, and I happened to ask him because I've been toying thinking in the back of my mind, not only now, but since many years, about how to effectively engage with the communities around us. And as education and enablers, this becomes a very, very important task in our hand. So I happened to ask him, while I was wanting to know, as a commissioner of BBMP, or as a commissioner of or as an additional chief secretary of higher education, what was his biggest challenge? He said the challenge always remained that bureaucracy remains bureaucracy, and to reach out to the real people becomes a real challenge, unless it's very simple to engage with the youth, to engage with the people, with the communities through educational institutions, who are so many in number in our country. He said little things used to be a challenge, like segregation of waste. The segregation of waste became an absolute overnight success when institutions came on board, when people who were dealing with students and their families came on board. Then energy saving, conservation of water, all these things happen only when institutions come out of their comfort zones of teaching, learning, and formal education, and try to build relationships with the community and the governments and their schemes at home. Now, as students and teachers, it's imperative to engage in practices of, practices that means value to you, value to themselves and others, because what is of value to you is definitely of certain value to the community, to the students that you're speaking to, and that helps the community at large. Now, one can definitely see how collaboration on meaningful projects can lead to authentic relationships within an institutional setting. And we as educational enablers have to work very, very, very seriously. And here, when I say educational enablers, I mean the leadership, on psychological empowerment, on empowerment of what we really believe in, on empowerment of the value each teacher, each faculty believes in. Teachers' participation in decision-making process is directly correlated to their individual cognition of empowerment, which in turn will positively correlate to, I think, increased satisfaction, obviously, but greater motivation and greater initiatives, greater engagement. So this I would like to announce to the leadership, and to ensure a more innovative and creative behavior in the faculties. On an institutional level, I think this kind of authenticity is only realized through dialogues, and that's how we all are, isn't it? We learn who we are through dialogues. We learn the dialogues could be in collaboration with your family, with your friends, your neighborhood, your peers, your other social environments, but it is always through dialogues. And this same authentic leadership is crucial for a feeling of accountability in an institution, oneness with the immediate situations that happen on daily basis and others around the community. I think this is what triggers an act of good for others in view. And when you deeply believe in people around you, and when the institution, the leadership believes in the teachers, and the teachers deeply start believing in the learners and their ability to make ordinary things into extraordinary and greater things. So I have some excerpts here beyond what we need to do from the national education policy, and also what UGC had prescribed for public engagement. And we could discuss and we could evolve with ideas with our own institutions on public engagement. And this really gives a great new perspective of engaging with the people around you through institutions. Now, I think with the practice and application of these linkages, or combination of these linkages, we can make a greater impact together. Now, the first point that the UGC and the NEP speaks of is linking learning with community service. Now, how do teachers apply their knowledge and skills in a chosen community to improve the lives of the people in that community? Now, this is very simple, like, for example, at our university, we send out our students to the farmers nearby and as a part of their courses to engage with them, to find out what are the challenges they face, and from various disciplines, not only in agriculture, from engineering, from management, and apply their knowledge and with the guidance of the faculties to address the challenges of a specific area of a specific local community around the area of the university. Another initiative that can be done is linking research with the knowledge of the local community. And I think in this approach, various faculties and the programs of higher education institution need to design joint research projects in partnership with the communities around and the local agencies around. And the knowledge of these communities is integrated into the design of the research and the conduct of the research. I think one of the aspects that the NEP speaks about is the community-based participatory research. This approach actually not only in India, but has a great increasing recognition worldwide as well. So this is one. And then knowledge sharing, knowledge mobilization, which is important that the knowledge available with the students and teachers in various disciplines is made available to the local community. Now there is something called as the local rural outreach programs that we have at our university, where in the form of surveys, in the form of campaigns, in the form of awareness camps, in the forms of films, in the form of little bite-sized short videos or study reports, and there are initiatives that go on in terms of hygiene, personal hygiene, water management, effective implementation strategies for corona and the pandemic, that during the pandemic time. So knowledge sharing and knowledge mobilization in tandem with the communities around you. Now we could also devise new courses, devise new curriculum with the existing programs that you have at your institution to engage with the community. This will give a whole new perspective in the inclusion. Like, for example, entrepreneurship. Now, entrepreneurship cell from our university, they engage with the students around who are diploma dropouts, and then they give them these bite-sized modules during the evenings or in the weekends or through online, and engage with them in fruitful ways on understanding what could be their ideas, where we can intervene and together implement and for greater good. Improving knowledge through understanding the business opportunities that lay there. So this is one area through the entrepreneurship cell that we do, including practitioners as teachers, which I already spoke about. We have several organizations, we have several individuals who are into, they are community leaders, or they are women leaders, or they are NGOs, or they are institutions like Disha Bharat, civil society practitioners, retired IAS officers, retired bureaucrats, retired civil servants, who have enormous practical knowledge and with a wide variety of issues from, right from agriculture to food to forestry to planning to project management, etc. This expertise needs to be tapped. It can be tapped, and the practitioner can co-teach with the faculties within the classrooms, and this way we respect the practical experience and the knowledge of the people around us. And that's where there's this very progressive program called Know Your Country, Know Your Culture, and Know Yourself, which is from the Disha Bharat, and that has created a very profound impact in my students at the Best Innovation University of Anantapur. I think instead of taking all upon yourself, you could very well discuss about the initiatives you would like to take with such progressive organizations and understand if something customized can be made for your students, especially to do with public engagement. Now, there are also a lot of social innovations by students. The example that I gave about the plastic bottles that were used for kitchen gardening in turn to make kashaya. So similarly, I'm sure as enablers, you have a group of these very excited, good students who are always speaking with you about campaigns, about how we can lead from the front. You have to encourage and initiate these learning projects that have social impact. It has to be supported by institutions. And even if it means to incubate few of these ideas to scale up, and such projects, I think can create great impact. And these could also create meaningful links to your existing curriculum and courses. I think integration of all these ideas which are already prescribed can make a huge difference. These are only a few which also we follow at our university, something that I thought I should share with you. And I'm sure you all, in this platform have several stories that are more profound to share. And I think we could do that once we complete the session. Now, national education policy that has come in, what it does is give us a great advantage, a great edge to experiment on the already existing ideas that we have with us. It has come to elevate, I would say, from the present standards of what we have been doing for the past so many years. From after a long gap of 18 years of the Kothari Commission, we've got this fresh breath of air, based on the pillars of access, equity, quality, knowledge sharing, affordability, and very importantly, accountability. I'm sure that this NEP will transform our country into a vibrant knowledge hub. Now, what we have now is a traditional education system, but what we are now planning to create is an education system that will be deep rooted with our Indian ethos, and that which will contribute directly our country, our Bharat, into an equitable, vibrant, knowledgeable society. I think the kind of flexibility that is needed for institutions, for individuals to progress upon and to stress upon the real knowledge, I think will make us a huge superpower. Because, but however we engage, define our engagement protocols, the curriculum and the pedagogy of our institutions need to change. They need to be developed among students. They need to develop among students a deep sense of regard, respect of their fundamental duties and their constitutional values. Bonding with our own country, our culture, because unless we do that, unless there is a conscious awareness that is created of one's own roles and responsibilities, there will be no change that we can bring about. So the first and foremost responsibility we have in our hand as enablers of education, as enablers of knowledge, is to create this conscious awareness, to instill among the learners a deep rooted pride of being an Indian, a Bharatiya. Not only in thought, but also in spirit, intellect, and the deeds. And we as enablers have to develop knowledge, have to develop the skills, have to develop the values and dispositions that support the spirit of oneness, this consciousness. Now, what I can say is, we need to stay committed, we need to stay responsible, and together as enablers of education, as enablers, as givers of knowledge, carve a niche for community living. And the idea is to engage in the right type of discussions, channelize our learners into the right direction, and all said and done, it cannot be only done by the teachers. As I said, there is unconditional support that need to be given to them, whether pedagogy wise or whether, curriculum wise, and we need to collectively act to remove the constraints that we might have in implementation of the national education policy, because we are a very diverse, complex country, and organizational policy constraints that stifle the implementation of policy can only be overcome uh, by being together, by creating such consortiums, such hubs of knowledge within the institutions that bring in the community and civic engagement along with them. Now, let's together, I think, focus on the knowledge that we are here to give, to provide, and to promote the acquisition of knowledge and skill sets while also facilitating the values, that would ensure that this acquired knowledge that we have provided is put to meaningful use for the benefit of our society. It's important for all of us as educationists, as education enablers, as providers, to influencing the attitudes, these attitudes, emotion, and behavior amongst our students and our youth, and orient more so about our nation, ensure about conservation, our environment, our mother earth, our culture, our heritage. Because knowing your country is knowing yourself. And with that, I think I I leave it open to the audience to share their wonderful examples of public engagement that have made a difference, and whereby we could learn from each other's stories. Thank you and namaste.
Thank you, Dr. Rupa ma'am. Whenever we listen to your speech, there are two things that come out apparently. One is the overwhelming fragrance of India, especially in the rural background. And second is the inspiring speech that you deliver with great diction and clarity. So thank you, ma'am. So at this point, there are a few questions, but in the interest of time, let us see if we can at least address a couple of them with your permission, ma'am.
Sure.
Yeah. First question we have from Dr. Afsari Jan from Abbas Khan College for Women. So how would NEP be helpful, and would it be possible to implement in remote villages and underprivileged students with limited resources? Would it be practically possible is a question that is being asked.
There are going to be huge challenges, as I said, with the sheer complexity that we come in, the rural, the urban, the 365 million children in school, in municipal schools, the private schools. The implementation is going to be a huge challenge, and there are going to be several issues and challenges that stand ahead of us in terms of, public engagement is one aspect, but there is a very beautiful point in the national education policy where they speak about community engagement, where there is a grid made for a certain school that will cater to 2-3 other schools of the government, municipal schools, and in turn those municipal schools which will make it implementable in the villages. So I think there is a lot of flexibility given to all stakeholders, and the ones who are into education system. Implementation is going to be a huge challenge, and there are going to be several challenges that will stifle the implementation of NEP, but I think we can collectively remove the constraints, and it's a 15-year roadmap that has been defined. So I think only time will tell how we will effectively implement what works and effectively rule out what does not work. So it's the bigger part of ice cream that our previous speaker was saying. So I think I would also say the same.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So can we have one more question?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So we have a question from Shri Prajwal, a management representative. So he asks, as per the NEP, have we made any changes for the agricultural course approval for private universities with ICAR affiliated courses? Are students eligible for government exams or MSc in well-renowned universities like GKVK, CFTRI, JRF, etc.? So I'm sorry for the ignorance, all these letters, JRF, GKVK, I would believe that you can understand, but for me, they are all jumbled letters.
See, that's where we are going to transition from the current education system. We are going to have a flexi approach. Now, the only all the common approval bodies, well, in this case ICR is not an approval body, it's an accreditatory body like NAP. So there are going to be checks and balances for the courses that we offer, but it's going to be a light but tight kind of an approach by the National Education Policy. Definitely these councils that we call, there is Council for Agriculture, there's a Bar Council, there is Council for, they are all going to be judging the professionalism, when you enter into a profession, for example, I become a lawyer or I become an agriculturist, whether I am implementing my profession in the true sense of the profession with the licenses, they are going to be the bodies who will take care of that. And as far as the educational institution go, there is going to be only one body. Even today there is only UGC, but then there are these separate councils for each courses. That will not remain. Now there will be no such parameter for a student to aim for, this whole standardization and then saying you are not eligible because you do not belong to a certain pedigree of IIT, IIM, ICR or GKVK. You are not as good as a student passing out of an IIT. Should stop. I think it should stop from the teachers. And it should stop with rethinking that only when a student does this, he has knowledge. You will be surprised, Meeraji, that the knowledge comes in from different zones, from different places. And we've been astonished from where all we have received knowledge. All we need to do is have our hands open to receive this kind of knowledge. That mindset to receive knowledge from any quarter, from anyone, that makes a meaningful change is what should be the mantra, than say he is from IIT, he is eligible for this, he is from IIM, he is a pedigree. Yes, we have great regard for people who pass out from premium institutions, but the students who do not go to such premium institutions, we have no right as educationists to tell them to sit at home and consider themselves bad. We need to promote them more than anybody else. So I think this question in this context may be irrelevant, but yeah, this is what I would like to say.
Thank you, Rupa ma'am. In fact, we have had several occasions where you have highlighted the knowledge and the spirit that we have in the rural areas. So wonderful. So on behalf of Disha Bharat, I really would like to express deepest gratitude for your time, for your inspiring speech and addressing the questions very patiently. Thank you very much, ma'am.
My pleasure.
So summarizing the two speeches that we had today: love your subject, love your profession, love your students to increase the level of dedication and commitment. And also the teachers should raise to the level of being a leader and engage very closely with the students. Those are the two takeaways that we can have. And now the time is 1 and time to wrap up. So we request all the academicians, once again, I want to remind that a link to the feedback form will be there on the Zoom chat box. Kindly ensure that you submit the completed form by 9 a.m. tomorrow, and the issue of certificate will be based on the submission of this completed form as well as your Zoom attendance. So VIKASANA NEP 2020 is a webinar series, as it was already mentioned, which is planned for 12 months. We have already completed 3 and we have 9 more to go. So we request all the academicians to participate and spread the awareness about this program. We seek your cooperation and full support in making this endeavor a successful one. So at this point, I would invite one of our senior most volunteers of Disha Bharat and a great counselor, Srimati Srilata Ramprasad, to deliver the vote of thanks. Thank you very much. Over to you, Srilata ma'am.
Ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Srilata ma'am, you're still on mute.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you, ma'am.
Yeah. Namaste. Thank you, Meera. On behalf of Disha Bharat, I have been given this opportunity to propose the vote of thanks. This is a very great takeaway for all of us. Dr. Gururaj Karjagi's speech, the teachers should be committed, well prepared, transformation and communicative, and have values for be passion for their profession. For the students, the teachers are the role models and the students will follow what is seen by them and not what is taught to them. The teachers should set their own bar higher for students and to achieve them, help the students to reach their goals and accomplish their dreams. I profoundly thank Dr. Gururaj Karjagi sir for having accepted our invitation and taking time off and being with us and sharing his thoughts on this subject. Thank you, sir. And for Madam Rupa Madam, started very clearly saying the importance of being pure and doing good should be our perception. And teachers should outreach, should have open-ended dialogues for better communication and effective deliverance. Facilitators should respond to the local needs and on the national level and bring together all the stakeholders and to enable success. Protection of indigenous knowledge systems and ancient culture is very important. The importance of pedagogy is very essential and unconditional support to the teachers to do their job and enable success. Thank you, madam. We cannot but thank you wholeheartedly from a chancellor who is into education and giving her valuable contribution on NEP. We once again thank you all for your time on this important topic. Thank you, madam. We from Disha Bharat also thank the media, members of Disha Bharat, all participants for having been with us. This program, NEP program, will be conducted till November 2021 on a monthly basis, wherein the all clauses of NEP would be discussed in detail by eminent speakers. We will keep you posted on the future programs. To join, please to join us. We also request you to forward the Google forms duly filled up before 9 a.m. tomorrow to felicitate issue of e-certificate. Thank you, one and all. Back to Meera.
Thank you. Thanks to all the academicians and delegates for participating in this program. And we hope to have you back again for all the future programs. Thank you.
Meera ma'am, would you like to let them know that we also have a WhatsApp group? I will be sharing the link here. If they're interested to be a part of NEP teachers group with Disha Bharat, they can join.
Absolutely, absolutely, Lavanya. That is, Lavanya ma'am, that's a wonderful point. So for all the academicians who are present here, we have a group, NEP Teachers Group, where it is a forum to let you know about our NEP programs and also to enable discussions on NEP 2020. So you can be part of it. It is also, the invite is shared in the chat window as I see here, Lavanya ma'am has shared. So you can click on it and then you can be part of the group. So thank you very much.